Thanks very much for staying on with us. It's in the green for the equity markets, but just about flat as we speak. Let's connect with the management then of Blue Star and talk a little bit more about the quarter gone by. Remember, it's been a pretty stellar quarter as the profit has jumped to 106 crore rupees and top line growth too has been steady. Satish Jamdar, Managing Director, now joins in on the show. Great to have you with us. You've seen a good improvement in your sales significantly over the last quarter and the last year. Will this summer demand be sustained in Q1 as well?
Well, I would say, let me go back a little on what you started with. Yes, last year we had, if you notice, by the way, we crossed the 3,000 crore mark for the first time. We were sort of around between 2.5 and 2.8 for a couple of years. The growth cycle was a little sluggish. We ourselves were a little careful on the projects business segment 1 to ensure that we booked the right jobs and were willing to let go of what we thought were difficult projects because of the slowdown essentially. And so all our growth came from our products, essentially room ACs and refrigeration cooling products. And off late in the last year, you also seen our segment 3, which is the PI, is also growing. It's a small segment, but it adds on. And so overall, we crossed the 3,000. And so a 10% growth, which is more than the 3 to 5 or 6% we had before that in the last 2-3 years. But I would say if you look at the Q4 figure itself, standalone, it's about 15%, which means that there's an acceleration in the last quarter. Of course, the summer season kicks in around February, March. It has continued, and we expect Q1 usually, of course, to be as good. The only 1 or 2 things I can add is it's been a little erratic this summer. There have been rains, unseasonal rains here and there. Whole of Calcutta and the eastern region has been, I would say, mostly rained out as a summer. But you're right, the heat wave has intensified of late. One is seeing extreme temperatures, and that certainly has fueled market demand across for room ACs again. But it depends on how long this will carry on. We might expect monsoons earlier. Some people are predicting a slower, a shortage in the monsoon expectation. Then all this matters finally. You're asking me what we are planning to grow on the same level as last year. That is our internal target.
Now, Mr. Jamdar, net earnings have been boosted by exceptionals of 38 crore rupees. If you can give us more details on the same.
Well, there are two exceptional items. One is that we sold a property. In the last couple of years, we've been selling off what we think are unnecessary assets sitting in the balance sheet and leveraging that into our business. So we've been doing that for the last couple of years. So one of those was about 25 crores somewhere in that region. But there was the other thing was the transfer or the sale of our P&I's business into the fully owned subsidiary at a fair value. It was a scheme we announced, and that got completed end of March. So that had a value of approximately 110, I think that's the number, approximately that, minus the asset value. So it gave about 80 crores. And then there's a VRS we had in one of our factories with about 6 crores, which is knocked off from that. So net, that was the item. And then, of course, we took a call on 3-4 large projects we had in our segment 1, which we felt in spite of our best efforts, we may need to be prudent and provide for now, which we have done. So net of all that is perhaps what you're talking about 38 to 40.
And are there any more non-core asset sales on the cards?
Yes, I would say we are now, I have to give you a big picture on the capital employed and borrowings. About 4 years back, our borrowings had touched about 600 crores. Our debt equity had gone to about 1.23. Blue Star had never been in that space before. And since then, we've been bringing down and trying to get the cash flow right with all the efforts we made. And I'm happy to say that end of last quarter, that is end of March, we ended at a sub 300 number, which is about half of what we had 4 years back. And all this has been an effort on getting non-moving assets, non-performing assets out of the way, surplus assets out of the way, consolidation, tighter inventory and capital management, all that we did, cash flow, debtors, all that has paid off. So a lot of things we have done. We will do it more as a business requirement rather than any other need. And I would say there will be some few assets that there would be always. We depreciate some, and then we, of course, have moved some of our product lines from one plant to another. So the residual assets which remain there as capex, old capex, normally we would dispose them off and get rid of those from the books, maybe at a profit or maybe at break even, whatever it is. The point is to release that cash and bring it into the business.
Sure, and how do you read into the competition from the air cooler segment? As many AC makers are moving in that space, how big an opportunity does it look like to you, and are you also planning to get it?
So the air cooler, yes, you're right, air cooler has, I would say, it began as a small scale kind of item some years back. Then a couple of companies took it in a more professional way and started building on that, on their products with, I think in air efficiency and energy efficiency and looks and styling, etc. So it has sort of caught on the fancy a bit, but I would still say it's at best about some 700 to 900 crore market right now. I do not know how it will grow, maybe 10% CAGR. We looked at it, we're looking at whether it's an item we should look at as part of our diversification or core expansion plan. Right now, and as you know, we deal with air, water and food, cooling and preservation. So obviously anything to do in those areas we look at continuously. Right now we also look at some water-based products. We're looking at some air purification products. So we haven't made our mind. I don't think it's a top line item for us right now in terms of priority. But there is some other one or two things I mentioned, and some more which most probably by in the last quarter would be announcing.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. Thanks so much for joining in and giving us a view, Mr. Jamdar, on the quarter gone by and what we can expect then from Blue Star going ahead. So clearly, fairly optimistic for Blue Star, talking about, a strong Q1 FY16 earnings and more non-core assets will be sold going forward. 360, that's where Blue Star currently is. But let's check in on the rest of the market and get in some chart checks going as well.